Early in 2021, we saw a massive boom in the comic book market. Comics going to massive heights that we never seen before, just going up by 3-4x in just a few short months. But with that was also the nostalgia boom. Different executives and movie producers thought that they could capitalize on this massive boom by bringing back things from the action figures, comic books, and all sorts of stuff that people really loved, and now they're trying to bring it back and recapture that childhood goodness by coming out with a new movie, TV show, or something. And the reason why many of these comic books even got made, or TV shows got made to begin with in the early 80s, is because companies wanted to sell their toys. And in order to sell their toys, they thought they would go through the routes of having a comic book attached to it, sometimes a TV show, cartoon, something, and this would sell toys because they made most of their money actually off the toy sales, not necessarily the cartoons or the comic lines. So let's take a look back at 10 of these most iconic, nostalgia-driven comic books. First is we got Thundercats, number 1. A 9.4 is down 81% from peaking in 2021 for $420, now selling for $80. A 9.6 down 77% from at one point in 2021 selling for $11.48, now selling for $2.63. And a 9.8 was peaking back in 2021 for $22.50. Now it sells for $565. That is down 75%. Now another thing that drove this was Michael Bay was actually attached to do a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Dave Franco. But of course, that movie never got made and probably will never get made. But people really capitalized on the fact that they thought Thundercats was going to be this massive new franchise, and during 2021, pretty much everything was getting greenlit. Now originally, ROM was a toy and was actually called Cobalt, but they changed it to ROM later. The toy was released by the Parker brothers, and they went to Marvel to license the character so they could build interest in the toy. Ultimately, the toy failed and only sold about 200,000 to 300,000 units in the US. But even though the toy failed, the comic book kept going and lived on and went all the way until 1986 for 75 issues. Recently, Hasbro Studios has planned a massive shared universe with G.I. Joes, the Micronauts, Visionaries, Masked, and even ROM. But of course, that never happened, even though a script was written and they even had people attached, and never took off. So we got ROM number 1. A 9.4 is down 71% from selling $171, now selling $50. A 9.6 is down 60%, peaking in 2021 for $200, now selling for $81. And a 9.8 is down 71% from peaking in 2021 for $695, now selling for $203. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. In 1976, Mattel's CEO declined a deal to produce the toy line for the action figures based on the Star Wars movie. It was due to the $750,000 licensing fee up front. Following the commercial success of the original Star Wars trilogy and its related merchandise, Mattel felt like it missed out on a massive opportunity. So they began launching many toy lines, but each one failed, one right after the another. In a race to design the next popular action figure, Roger Sweet, a lead designer for Mattel's design, came up with the idea of He-Man. Originally, when they pitched him, he was either going to be a soldier, a spaceman, or a barbarian. Eventually, they went with the barbarian design. After releasing their toy in 1982, they commissioned a cartoon to promote their toy line, and thus came the cartoon He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which was a massive success and helped Mattel sell millions and millions of toys. Eventually, they even got their own cinematic movie and had multiple spin-offs. Recently, Netflix has spent over $30 million trying to make a brand new film, but eventually just canceled it altogether. So let's take a look at the first comic book appearance of He-Man and see how much it's gone down recently. DC Comics presents number 47. A 9.4 is down 77%, from peaking in 2021 for $910, now selling for $208. A 9.6 is down 79%, from peaking at $1,300, now selling for $275. And a 9.8 peaked all the way back in 2021 for $5,175, now selling for only $800, down 85%. They greenlit the Silverhawks movie, which was going to be a live-action version, and as you know, never got made. So let's see how the comic did. Silverhawks number 1, a 9.4 down 59%, from selling from $150 to $61. A 9.6 down 44%, from $295 to $165. And a 9.8 down 61%, peaking in 2021 for $850, now selling for $325. G.I. Joes have been a staple in American toy line. Starting back in 1964, Hasbro actually licensed the entire concept of the toy line for $100,000. They continued making toy after toy line, but it really took off in 1982 when Hasbro wanted to reinvent the toy line. So they went to a production team and decided to make a cartoon called G.I. Joe's A Real American Hero. And then they also went to Marvel and decided to make a comic book. With those three things coming out at the same time, it massively pushed the toy into new heights. Since then, a couple movies have come out, and the most recent one was Snake Eyes. But every single movie hasn't really done very well, and the most recent one bombed very, very hard. So if we take a look at the comic book, G.I. Joe American Hero #1, a 9.4 is down 65% from $850 to $299. A 9.6 is down 75% from $1,100 to $275, and a 9.8 is down 81% from selling for almost $4,000 in 2021, now selling for $762. The Micronauts is actually a little bit different. While most companies actually license their character out to different comic lines in order to promote their toy, this one actually didn't do that. So Micronauts originally started in Japan as called Micromen, but then Mego, a company that made toys, decided to license them and bring them over to the US, and they changed the name to Micronauts. It actually was a very popular toy for them, generated $32 million for a company that was only making about 110. And the way it became a comic book is actually one day, Bill Manto's son, Adam, was opening a new present, and in that present was one of those Micronauts action figures. After seeing the toy, he was instantly struck by inspiration and wanted to write their adventures. So he convinced the editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, to get the license for these toys so they could make it into a comic book. And then in 1979, they created their very first Micronauts comic book, and it ran for 59 issues, up until 1984. Now recently, after Hasbro acquired the rights, they wanted to do this toy line cinematic universe that spanned G.I. Joe, Visionaries, Mask, ROM, and even Micronauts. But that never actually happened. So let's see what happened to the comic book. Micronauts #1, a 9.4, is down 71%, selling for $140 down to $40. A 9.6 is down 57%, from peaking at $150, now selling for $65. And a 9.8 is down 78%, peaking at $699 in 2021, now selling for $150. Visionaries Knights of the Magical Light originally started out as a cartoon, only lasted for about 13 episodes in 1987 before being canceled. After the cancellation of the cartoon, Hasbro released a set of figures. The toy line only lasted about 1 year after being canceled. They were going to come out with a second wave of characters planned in 1988, but it was never released due to the cartoon and toy line's cancellation. Even the comic book didn't last long. It only lasted 6 issues from 1987 to 1988. Hasbro was going to reinvent the Visionaries in this new cinematic universe, but that never happened either. Visionaries #1, a 9.4 is down 45% from 100 to 55, a 9.6 down 33% from 150 to 100, and a 9.8, once peaking at $420 in 2021, is now selling for $83. That is down 80%. Trans 7, they came out with a live-action movie that reinvigorated entire Transformers line. To this day, they still are making Transformers movies, each one making less money than the one before, but still are massive success. For the comic book, Transformers #1, a 9.4 is down 62% from 530 to 200. A 9.6 is down 71% from 1121 to 320, and a 9.8 is down 58% from a little over 3,200, now selling for 1,325. Mask was developed by Kenner in 1985, and like with most toys during that time, they really wanted to pump up their toy line with an animated TV show and also comic books. So they did that. But the action figures and the animated series only lasted about 2 seasons. Even the comic book only lasted 4 issues from 1985 to early 1986. Kenner really wanted to capitalize what other toy companies were doing, but just couldn't with this toy line. Even the comic book Mask #1, a 9.4 is down 35% from 139 to 90, a 9.6 is down 58% from 275 to 115, and a 9.8 is down 59% from 500 to 205. Shogun Warriors was a very short-lived Mattel toy line from 1979 to 1980. The toy line was pretty much copied from a Japanese company called Poppy. In order to promote their toys, Mattel approached Marvel Comics to do a comic tie-in, as it worked very well with their toy line Godzilla. But one of the issues with the toy line is it had spring-loaded weapons, and the little tiny plastic missiles that they would launch posed a very risk for small children. As a result, the toy company was forced to remodel existing toy lines for child safety reasons. Because of this, as well as declining sales, the Shogun Warrior toy line was discontinued just a year later. So let's see what happened to the comic book. Shogun Warriors #1, a 9.4 is down 33%, from $90 to $60. A 9.6 down 64%, from $160 to $58, and a 9.8 is down 50% from $259 to $130. So as you see, because of the massive nostalgia and comic book boom, these prices went way high and dropped way down. And during this time, there's massive hypes on pretty much all these characters because Hollywood wanted to make some money off the nostalgia boom. But most of the movies never even got made. They had scripts, maybe directors or actors attached to them, but they all kind of faded away. Even if they did get made, they were kind of a bomb like Snake Eyes. And then the only one that kind of went pretty far was Thundercats, and they got $30 million into the movie, and then they decided to call it quits. Hope you like this video. Have a great day.